What's good, my man in society? It's your host with the most shadow look back at you with another video. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. It's absolutely free. That is how you help my channel get into the algorithm. Highly appreciate if you go ahead and do that. Now, I know you get two today. I just had to come and speak on this one. So I had gotten sent a link a little while ago, right? To a channel, Red Supreme TV, right? He was covering. He's a brother who I think he stays in Atlanta or something like that, right? But I guess he used to be from over here or something like that, right? But he was covering the protests that are happening in Los Angeles with the, whole immigration, ICE, and all of that. And so I had scoped out, Red Supreme TV a few times before, right? It seems to me he's like an individual who has a problem with the raza, right? He's not too fond of, Mexicans. He's, constantly trying to paint them bad or make them look bad or, at least trying to convince the audience to see them the way that he does, right? Um, because of, I guess, how we treat the brothers right now. So he was covering the whole protest, right? He was saying that pretty much that for us that it's good that we're getting deported and that this is what the raza gets for siding with the whites, right? That they want to be white, that they choose white over having a good relationship with blacks, because they desperately want to be white. Now, the ignorance in his opinion is crazy, right? Now, the reason why I say the ignorance in his opinion is because he's using street politics, street logic, street rules, street events, shit that happens in the gangster world, right? The what happens in prison, in the California system, right? Uh, and he's using that and applying it to the protest and applying to the situation that's happening right now, right? Because he had another brother on there, right, who was saying, well, that's what they get, since they siding with the whites, in the penitentiary, that's what they get, what happened, and this is and that, right? And I'm saying, like, what the fuck do those Mexicans that are right there protesting, bro, have anything to do with the gangster world or the gangster lifestyle or the southern politics of things? This is not a gangster matter. This is not a gangster issue. Civilians don't care for the gangster activities or what the Suds agenda or nothing like that. They don't even like gang members themselves. So why are you attaching now the southern views, the southern politics, the gangster politics on non-gang related matters, on non-gang related individuals for? What do they have to do with the politics? Nothing, because this is not about the street world. It's not about the gangster world. Here's another thing. This problem is not just a Mexican problem, right? ICE is targeting all illegals, not just Mexicans, right? Because they're making this like if it's a Mexican issue, and it's like, no, they're targeting all minority, all immigrants. I mean, not just Mexicans. So it's not just a Mexican problem. There's a lot of families that are going through this, not just Mexican or not even Latino ones. You know, you have Europeans that are getting deported, Middle Easterns, Asians, you know, and many others, right? So this is not just something that's affecting the raza, right? But the ignorance of them trying to just make it about the raza, right? Like if it's Mexico versus the United States, when that's not what's happening here, right? Now, for those who may not be aware, I am not a Democrat. I am not a Republican. I'm not down with, I'm not liberal or conservative. I'm not down with none of the, politics. I think they're all full of shit. I think they're all bullshit. I think that it's all the same, just this, different wings, same bird, right? They don't give a fuck about the people. I'm not a fan of Trump. I'm not a fan of Biden. I think they're both whack, and America deserves better. Um, so I'm not here to defend one side or the other, because I understand from the logical sense of the situation that's happening right here, right? Because it is messed up that they're targeting hardworking families that are just trying to feed their families, put food on the table, pay their bills, and all of that, right? But at the same time, if you are here illegally and breaking the law, right, because that is against the law, right, then, and in order to come to this country, you have to go through the proper process, right? Just like everybody else, right? Because that's just the way it works, right? No country works where they just let illegals come in, right? Not even Mexico. Mexico deports people too, right? So, from the legal sense of things, right? The logical sense of things, well, yeah, it is against the law, and these individuals are just doing their job by, going and, deporting them, right? Because they're, like I said, they're just doing their jobs, right? But they don't really have to be targeting these families, right? So I understand from both perspectives, of the situation, right? It's one of those, fucked up situations. But going around and burning, buildings, burning cars, throwing, shit is not gonna get the message across. It's not gonna fix anything. It's not gonna now they're gonna release these people. It's not gonna do shit, but make the situation worse, or make these individuals to see like, look, this is why they need to get deported, right? So they're not helping the situation by protesting like that. But now if they're doing peaceful protests, right, like within your rights, then law enforcement doesn't have the right to now be trying to attack you, or how can I say, um not allow you to your freedom of speech, right? So it's in the mix, because I understand that not everyone that's there is looking to cause chaos and all of that, but you do have individuals in the mix of all of that, right, that choose to do that kind of stuff, right? Um, so it's just one of those tough situations, right? Because not everyone that's there, like I said, is looking to cause chaos, right? Um, so it's one of those things, right? But with this individual, it seems that his experiences, or because he had said that we all have a story where these Mexicans are backstabbers. We all have a story where a Mexican, backstabbed us, because that's how they get down. That's their thing. If you experience some bad experiences with some Mexicans, um, I understand, right? Because you're gonna meet people of different ethnicities who are not the best of people, right? There's black people that are like that. There's white people that are like that. Asians, and everything else, right? It's not just Mexicans that you'll find some Mexicans that are like that. You get what I'm saying? Now, just because you had some bad experiences with some Mexican, that doesn't give you the right to now brand all of these individuals backstabbers, or no good, or criminals, or racist, or anything like that. You get what I'm saying? It's just that individual only speaks in behalf of himself, not in behalf of the raza. You know, no individual out there can speak in behalf of their ethnicities. No individuals out there reflect and display their whole entire ethnicities. How could I say, behaviors or standards or morals? You know, there's some raza that I don't even like, right? So how could you say that we're all the same? Like, that's ridiculous. You know, like if I have a bad experience with a African American, I don't be like, oh, all blacks are the same. Nah, it's just between me and this individual right here. You know what I mean? We keep it just between us. Why would I go and insult other people? What do they have to do with this individual's behaviors? When you see stuff like that, then that just means you're a racist. How are you gonna blame a whole entire ethnicity because of your experiences with just one individual, or let's say several individuals? Out of the million, just because you had a bad experience with like 15 Mexicans, that speaks on behalf of the millions of individuals that are out there. That is so ignorant. That's the same type of thinking that racist groups like the Nazis, the Ku Klux Klan, and all of them had. Because people also, want to paint the whites as the villains. The whites are not the bad guys here either, bro. I hear them also try to spin that narrative. It's the establishment. It's the establishment versus, the people. The rich versus the poor. It's always been that game. Everything else has been a distraction. It's the establishment that's the problem. It just so happens that most of the established happens to be white. But that doesn't mean that it's because whites are the problem. It's the establishment, because those whites are not the same as these whites. You have whites that are cool, that are, stand with the people and everything like that. So to try to paint them as the villains, or try to, make them the problem, is ridiculous too. Look, I'm gonna tell you something. If you're so prideful in your ethnicity, if you're so prideful in your culture, in your where you from, right? Somebody who cares about his ethnicity, someone who cares about his people, doesn't rally them up just to send them to war with another group of individuals. You get me? If you really care about your group, you don't rally them up to now fight against another group. Then you don't have no love for for your ethnicity, then you don't want peace. Peace is when you're trying to, peace with everybody. You know what I'm saying? Not to, you don't rally your ethnicity up just to clash with another group. You get what I mean? You rally them up to better yourselves, to look for better ways, to dismiss the bullshits, to not put them in harm's way, to not put them in bad situations, to not, put them in the middle of drama. You get what I'm saying? Excuse me. Um, but it seems that a lot of individuals on here, are ignorant, bro. Because a lot of those remarks that he was saying was just he is bullshit, bro. You know what I mean? And like I said, that's your personal opinion. That's your personal, and you're entitled to it, right? But you don't get to try to bring your opinion and try to spread it like if it's facts, like that. This is how they behave because you say so, because of what you experience. The world does not revolve around you, my guy. You know. Yeah, but overall, just never blame never blame an entire ethnicity because you have had some run-in with some of those individuals, and the, they didn't turn out to be the most pleasant of interactions, right? Because like I said, a person can only speak in behalf of himself and only reflects his teachings. But that's just my opinion. What are your thoughts? Leave it in the comments and shout it out.